Chapter 1. Women have been denied fundamental human rights for as long as society has existed. For centuries, women have had to endure crushing oppression at the hands of men. The struggles of a woman growing up in a world that tells her how to live, what religion to follow, society standards, and the patriarchy are made clear by Tara Westover through vivid examples and apt descriptive tools. One of the struggles a woman has to face as she exists side by side with men is a lack of education. In some societies and cultures, it is a waste of resources to educate a female child, as she would only grow to assume another man's last name or risk her becoming too rebellious. As such, to keep her in check, they believe it is best to stifle any exposure to knowledge. This patriarchal act is theft of a basic necessity to survive and should not exist. Education, being one of the basic needs of any human being, is essential because it gives knowledge of the world and how to change it into something better. It develops a perspective of looking at life. Education arms one with the tools needed to form and express one's thoughts adequately about specific issues around them. It would seem logical that you'd want everyone around you to get an education and benefit from such a marvelous opportunity, right? Not if you wish to keep them in check, though, and keep them from forming their own opinions. This desire to control women is why they lack a sound education. Knowledge is light, and it helps us see the world better. It arms us with the necessary skills we need to survive. In many societies, men fear that education would render their control irrelevant once women realize their true worth and demand better treatment. In the following chapters of this summary, we shall get insight into survivalism, religion, and how all that can impact the life and adulthood of an individual. The place of education is also emphasized as it is a pillar of this summary. Chapter 2. More often than not, women suffer physical abuse as a form of discipline. Depriving women of quality education is a form of abuse. It robs them of a fundamental human right. But this isn't the only form of abuse they endure. Cases and reports of physical abuse of women are widespread. Cases of female children having to endure undue physical abuse from their fathers, brothers, and even their mothers sometimes appear to be chastisement or correction, but the truth is, it is just plain abuse. If a child commits an offense, there are proper, more humane ways to instill discipline or correction, even if the child isn't yours. Physical abuse has become so commonplace in society that it occurs rampantly. Even when these women who suffered abuse as kids grow up, they aren't seen as full humans yet, and still must be disciplined with acts of physical abuse. Husbands resort to taking out their frustrations with their marriage, work, and financial status on their wives in repeated bouts of physical abuse. It is shocking that even to this day, many women and young females endure some form of physical abuse in silence, either in marriages or in their homes. It is a fact that the perpetrators of this abuse are often people these women and young females trust expressively and look up to for protection and care. Survivors of physical or sexual abuse often grow up with trauma affecting their lives one way or another if they do not seek help. Tara Westover can vividly relay a relatable angle to the readers, throwing her weight behind a topic often discussed but never taken seriously. This is because she's had personal experience and has also spoken with many women with similar experiences. The effects of abuse are made crystal clear in this summary, and the psychological implications are also profound and resonant throughout the summary. We are, all of us, more complicated than the roles we are assigned in the stories other people tell. Tara Westwood. Chapter 3. Patriarchy is a system set up to favor men and put women in a disadvantaged position. The continued abuse of women goes unpunished by the system that favors males, the design of patriarchy. Patriarchy is a social system centered on the male being the head of the family. It places more importance on the men in the family, society, and any work of life. This system is what shields male abusers from any punishment for their vile actions. The female child is grossly disregarded and disenfranchised due to the tight fist of patriarchy, and the only way she can gain relevance is to do or be anything that will be pleasing to the males. Women are taught from a young age to look, act, and talk a certain way, or they'll be unfit for the only goal that men think women aspire or should aspire to, marriage. The actions of the female child must fit into the dictates of this instituted system that serves only the needs of men. Patriarchy makes it so that the man and male child are untouchable and never made to answer for their unhealthy behaviors. Meanwhile, daughters must behave, be proper, act in a pleasing way to the guidelines set by the patriarchy. Patriarchy essentially places the man as the pinnacle of the family and gets to decide the fate of everyone in his household. As a result, he can condemn the female members to a future they cannot object to because he is the law they obey. This absolute power given to the males makes it challenging to end the abuse and deprivation of rights owed to females. Patriarchy does no good to society. Instead, it protects abusers, shelters them from any punishment, and denies their victims any justice. Did you know? The cost of a 12-year education in the poorest countries, $1.17 per day, is less than the cost of a loaf of bread or a newspaper. Breaking down the expenses of educating girls shows us how little it actually costs. It helps to demonstrate that the benefits of educating girls far outweigh the costs, which are less than the price of a loaf of bread for one day. Chapter 4. Often, religion is used as a tool for the propagation of hatred for the female population at large. Another social system that can stifle the rights of females is religion. Many religious beliefs are tied in significantly with the patriarchal setup, which portrays the father and other males as godlike personalities. Sarah Westover samples her religion as a case point to show just how radical applying any concept can become enslavement rather than a way of life. She shares her own experiences with a radical religious upbringing and the consequences. Her father was a paranoid and immutable man, his illusions enforced by his religious doctrines and beliefs. This notion, backed up by his survivalist mindset, strengthened his desire to keep his children from the outside world, as he believed that the world was ending. In the wrong hands, religion can be used to enslave and control a large following of people. Because all her father knew was from his religious teachings, his children learned to read from the Bible, and their only idea of education was limited to whatever he told them. In his way, he believed he was doing what was best for himself and his family by putting them in a safety bubble. His convictions rested on the stern system of his restrictive religion. Religion serves as a tool to control and subjugate people by limiting their knowledge as the general truth. Education is vital because it opens the recipient's mind to a vast ocean of ideas and answers to questions they didn't know they needed to ask. All that radical religion offers is a life tailored to suit a predestined set of rules and restricted information. This refusal to allow followers to learn from any other source but the religion ties firmly into the patriarchy's decision to deny females an education. This result is because, frequently, religion disenfranchises females and enforces this with a poor or an absence of education. Along with an underlying patriarchy, religion has continued this dark legacy of slavery and subjugation of females, and it continues to this day. It's strange how you give people you love so much power over you. Sarah Westover. Chapter 5. Misogyny greatly damages women everywhere. While religion and patriarchy have managed to keep women down, the driving force has always been contempt for them. This feeling of inequality directed towards women is what is called misogyny. Misogyny goes far beyond the demands of the patriarchy. It is the driving force behind the segregation and unfair treatment that women receive in society. It is predominant because of years of actual practice to put down women because, even though they are qualified, their male counterparts still do not see a reason to give them what they deserve. Misogyny says that women aren't good enough for specific roles or are simply ineligible for a position merely because of their gender. It refuses to give the benefit of the doubt. Females aren't even employable or get promotions due to perceived incompetence based solely on prejudice. They are seen as weaker, flawed, and ill-equipped to make serious decisions, and therefore, they are deprived of the same opportunities the opposite gender would benefit from. Women are being denied essential opportunities because of prejudice against them, and it can be highly frustrating. Because of the growing influence of misogyny, females are subjected to acts pleasing to the male population to get what fundamental rights are theirs. For jobs they are qualified for, they have to employ sexual advances or offer up their bodies for some pass into misogynist favor. Nowhere do women have as many opportunities as men, and this starts with girls and their access to education. Did you know? According to a 2017 report by NGO1.org, 130 million girls are out of school. If this were a country's population, it would be the 10th largest nation in the world. Chapter 6. To be truly free of the holds of religion and other enslaving social concepts, one must be armed with a healthy education. Education remains the greatest gift you can give a person, no matter their gender. Tara Westover explains how education helped her see the world clearly and make sense of her world and how she fit into everything. Her young life had consisted only of what her father told her, and she lacked vital knowledge about the world. Education broadens the mind and gives one cause to think for themselves when one would typically be confused. Tara Westover had to move to college to open her world, but her education wasn't only from the four walls of a university. She had lived a life withdrawn from just about everything and everyone, so merely leaving the house was a tremendous amount of education. It showed that her blank mind needed some significant impartation, and she got it. Education is an essential part of the growth of any human. To deny children or anyone under your care the opportunities of getting a quality education is to condemn them to a life of utter blindness and a form of death. The introduction of education into the mix nullifies the effect and hold of religion, patriarchy, and misogyny. It prepares the multitude of females making their way through the ranks to benefit from this newfound strength. Education empowers the recipient and gives them the necessary edge in life that comes in handy in the labor market. It is an eye-opener and liberation from the bondage of enslaving systems and social constructs. Conclusion. Women have had to endure oppression since time began. Each day, a new tool or law that reduces a woman's humanity. They are deprived of school, abused by men they trust, deserted by caregivers, and kept in check by patriarchy and religion. Denying women proper education is a vile injustice and needs eradication in every corner of the world. As individuals, we have to help to ensure that female children get the same opportunities to groom their minds as their male counterparts. Education is knowledge, and knowledge is power. Without a sound education, it is impossible to fit into the preset modern world. Oppression prevents education from reaching women and keeps them in the dark. Patriarchy is weaponed and used as a sure foundation to base the wickedness that comes with gender oppression. It is dominant in various spheres of our society, even in religion. Females do not even find solace in religion. It helps to oppress, confuse, and deny them of any education. We must educate as many of the disenfranchised females we know or contribute to charities that champion the cause. No one should have to live a life deprived of basic rights, such as education, and as Tara Westover's story entails, the benefits are simply profound and life-changing. We must not give in to the paranoia or misogynistic agenda against educating our daughters. We need to create awareness and get more girls into schools. Choices, numberless as grains of sand, have layered and compressed, coalescing into settlement, then into rock, until all was set in stone. Tara Westover. Try this. You don't need a classroom to get an education. Take up reading and increase your knowledge. Engage your mind also in active learning, picking up bits and pieces as you go. Your will and desire to learn are the primary factors in your education, so do not be afraid to take the steps on your own.